Hey everyone, welcome back for today's message. I hope I put a title on it because I can't even remember what just happened just then. But today I have got a really special message for you guys coming from Melbourne's lockdown. As you guys know, I did a live the other day just letting you guys know that if you're not in Melbourne, in Australia, then you wouldn't even know, but we're in our fourth lockdown during the pandemic. So basically, today's message is something that I actually want to share because I've had a lot of people reaching out to me and going, oh my God, can Australia get it together? And you must be going nuts and crazy during this next lockdown, you know. And right now, our restrictions were actually supposed to ease just yesterday. And tonight. They were supposed to ease at midnight tonight. We were supposed to go back to normal. And basically that didn't happen. And basically we still are kind of in limbo. We have no idea when it is that we may be coming out of lockdown, whether it's going to be another week, who knows? And so it's kind of very much up in the air. And I feel like today's message and what I want to talk to you guys about is one that can serve myself as I talk into it, but everybody around the globe who is challenged with the uncertainty of having our freedoms taken away from us, right? I want to talk to you guys about this. And what I want to discuss with you guys today is something that I want to hear your thoughts on. I want to hear how you feel about it. What's your perspective? What's your experience? What are you dealing with right now? And how are you seeing what's going on in the world? And in particular, how our governments are, deciding things for us. And basically, it's going to be an interesting discussion. But the one that I want to give to you guys today, and my hope is that today's message empowers you to be the leader in your own life. So these messages aren't about spiritual bypass, right? We're not trying to just, minimize the negativity and just be all positive. And we're certainly not becoming victims either, right? So each and every one of these messages is, I present to you in the hope and want to co-create this space with you guys and hear from you in the hope that we can expand each other's perspectives and free ourselves and empower ourselves to be the leaders of our own lives to our highest possible ability, all right? And so today's message is no different, and really what it is about looking at what we're being faced with, what freedoms may be taken away from us, and how we are personally dealing with that and what's actually coming up. And the perspective that I want to share with you guys today is one in which I'm finding in my own life and in the lives of everybody who I coach and speak with and connect with from across the globe, with all these different ways of dealing with the current global pandemic. And basically, I feel like there is this particular part of this journey that we can really take on board for our own personal development journey. And it very much relates to my experience a couple of years ago of putting myself through a 10-day silent meditation retreat that I did in France. And basically it was no communication with a single soul. There was no technology. You couldn't talk to, you couldn't even look at. There was no verbal body language you could communicate with. And basically you were seated in meditation, and you did breath work and yoga and journaling, basically everything in your own presence. All right. And so I'm actually likening some of that experience to what's going on for many of us who are being locked down right now in the world. And it's fascinating in comparison to the rest of the globe. Like, here in Australia today in Melbourne, where we have a hard lockdown, where we can't leave our homes for anything other than essential care and a couple of other reasons that, very restricted to the general population. It's very much different, right, in comparison to what I hear about happening in the UK right now, with 50,000+ new cases coming up, but that basically they've removed all restrictions, right? It's just different ways of dealing with the same challenge, and who's right, who's wrong, who's whatever. It's not about that. What it is about is looking at how we in our own personhood are dealing with it. And that's why today's message I have titled Unhealed Trauma is Unmasked When Our Freedoms Are Taken Away from Us. All right, so basically what I'm talking about in today's message is this talk of how mental health issues are on the rise, right? And they have been over these last couple of years whilst we as a global society have been dealing with this pandemic. And I want to put it to each of us to look at, yes, okay, the stress and the uncertainty and the challenges to our businesses, our livelihoods, losing loved ones, all of that stuff. I am definitely not negating in terms of its really real impact on mental health. But what I want to add to the conversation is kind of a question, which is basically like, what if all of the underlying stresses of the individuals and all of that unhealed trauma, all of the stuff that's unresolved going on within us from past experiences, who we think we are, all the stresses that we collect are actually being unmasked. So yes, I would agree there are new stresses and traumas being triggered within people because of what's going on in the global climate. But what I also want to say is there's a huge percentage of all of our stress, all of our pain, all of the trauma that's actually not new and is actually being unmasked because we're being forced into situations where we have to give up our coping strategies. Now, what I mean by that is, when every single human being is dealing with some form of trauma from the past, from the present, whatever's going on, right? Like we're dealing with stresses, and each of us has a strategy to really cope with that shelters us from having to face it and deal with it when we don't have the emotional intelligence to do so, right? We've developed these coping strategies from childhood. And basically as adults though, we want to get to a position where we're able to face our fears. We're able to heal from our past. We're able to see and analyze and experience and move through and beyond those things that have impacted us on a very subjective level. But not too many people do that, right? Because it takes a lot of courage. It means we have to move through the darkness, through pain. We can be thrown off from our relationships and our connections and the things that we identify with. And so a lot of us keep those same coping strategies that we've had from childhood at play. And so what that looks like is, we have all the underlying chaos going on inside, and what do? We go shopping, or we go to work, or we're in our routine, or we distract ourselves with this relationship challenge, or we go to the gym and we're exercising, or we're out in nature and we're doing, creating or whatever. And basically what happens is when our freedoms are taken away from us, like I'm experiencing right now, you could call them freedoms, right? All the things that we choose to do on a daily basis. But what if what's happening right now, when those coping strategies are being taken away from us and we're being forced to stay put, right? We're being forced to sit with ourselves. We're being forced to stop the habitual patterns and engaging in those any of those coping or avoidance strategies. And now what we're being left with is the unmasking of the underlying stresses and traumas that we've been carrying on throughout our existence and gathering and collecting. And so when I look at it like that, and I'd love to hear from you guys about your perspectives on this, but basically when I think about it like that, and I have my past experiences of freedom of choice was to put myself in 10 days of silent meditation retreat away from any connection or interaction or engagement or technology, when I see my chosen experience of that and I compare it to my forced experience that I'm experiencing right now, I can see the commonalities of that. And what I see it as is an unmasking of the real traumas or underlying stresses or real even just true experience of myself as an individual being unmasked because I'm being forced to stop all of those doing things, all of those coping strategies that allow me to subconsciously avoid the truth of what's going on so that I can mitigate the pain and the darkness and I can just get on with the light and the positivity, right? And so what I'm seeing it as right now is actually an opportunity to purge and to heal, right? It's like an allowing of what's going on underneath to come up to the surface, right? It is, instead of us masking all the unhealed stuff, right? We're allowing it to come to the surface and we're allowing it to purge through us and we're able to heal and do it. And this is going to be a funny example that most of you probably won't realize, but basically, I have to say it because it's coming up into my mind. But recently, somebody was talking to me about a certain skincare product that they use, and basically, that's exactly what it does. It basically is for people who deal with or struggle with acne, and basically they use it on their skin and they go through this purging stage where their skin actually purges out all of the stuff that's, creating the acne underneath, and they go through and things get a lot worse, right? Their skin gets really, inflamed and they get very dry skin and all the gunk from underneath is being purged to the external, and they have to stick with it so that at the end of the tunnel of that, right, is actually the healing, the clarification, right, and the beautiful healthy skin that emerges. But instead, a lot of people, they have, maybe, I'm just using this as an example, but maybe they have acne and maybe they decide, I'm going to mask this, I'm going to cover it up with makeup, right? I'm going to, just try and pop it or whatever I'm going to do. I'm trying to get rid of it, but I'm trying to mask it. And instead, that might be the short-term strategy to avoid having to deal with what's really going on underneath, right? And basically they end up in a worse, there's only so much they can do. They can only hold it under the surface for so long. They can only mask it or hide it for so long. It's getting worse and worse and worse because they're not dealing with it, versus the person who decides, you know what, I know it's got to get a whole lot worse in order for it to get better. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the process of having that purging so that it can clarify and heal. And the same is true for whatever is not being addressed in our internal world. All of those negative experiences, all of those soul deducting kind of experiences and identifications that we've collected and gathered, but we've not treated. We've just tried to mask, right? We just put the smile on. We just do. We just get caught up in the habitual patterns and routines of just living our daily lives. It's actually going to get to a point where it's just worse and worse and worse, and we haven't dealt with it, right? And that's why we get to the end of our lives and we have the number one regret of the dying. I wish I had had the courage to live a life true to myself rather than one I felt was expected of me, right? If we utilize a time in history that we are being given the opportunity and being presented with, now I'm not trying to be all positive about this. What I'm trying to do is empower us with a new perspective that doesn't diminish the darkness, the negativity, the loss, the challenge, all the rest of it that we are faced with, because that's our full human experience. But it's actually, okay, well, what am I going to do with it? Could I utilize this time in history that I'm being faced with right now? If you're in Melbourne like me, you're in full lockdown, right? And we're uncertain when it's going to lift, right? It's not the end of the world, but it could be if I had the perspective of, my freedoms are being taken away from me and I can't do anything and I can't make anything happen and I'm focused on the worst case scenarios and my family's going to die and, and I'm going to lose everything in my business that I've created and I'm going to be poor and I'm not going to have a roof over my head. And can you see, we can easily access that. But what if we took a perspective of, this is an opportunity to purge what I've been avoiding, to allow what's dark and, and unhealthy to come to the surface for clarification and healing, so that in the long run, I'm the healthiest I can possibly be. All right. And so that's what I'm doing in my life right now. And I feel like, the universe works in mysterious ways. And what if, there is something bigger than just ourselves in our everyday routine, habitual existence, where we just, do the same thing every day. We leave at the same time in the morning. We go to the same job, deal with the same people, deal with the same problems, go home, go to bed, wake up, do it all over again. What if that is the mindless pursuit that we've all been engaging in for far too long? And just like the beautiful wildlife and how nature is dealing with having a lot less emissions and, people to deal with, and they're flourishing, right? You just have to look at the canals of Venice to see that during this pandemic and see the clarification that has been taking place as we slow down and get out of our everyday habitual patterns and start to question things. Just like that, what if this is a time and a chance in history to purge the coping strategies that negate our true experience, that stop us and stunt us from actually actualizing our potential in the world, for actually creating authentic fulfillment through inspiration that's deeply connected to who we are as we choose and gather back our true freedoms, which nobody can ever take away from us, which is the decision to connect and align with the deeper truths that stem from within us, rather than be directed by any external source that cannot know better than we can know for ourselves. All right, so we can hyper focus on the so-called freedoms we think we're losing right now and have that be just another distraction from the real work that is being presented to us to heal us, to purge the negativity and the unhealth, and actually get to a place of real fulfillment, deeper connection and inspiration, and be able to contribute our unique gifts to the world, right? Or we can actually see that for what it is. We can take 100% responsibility for how we avoid the darkness in our lives, for, and basically those coping strategies and routines. And we can start to question reality for ourselves, not in relation to other people's decisions, but basically to look at ourselves and ask ourselves and genuinely desire the honest, real, raw answer as to what we have been avoiding within. What could we purge right now that could be pretty dark, pretty devastating to our existence we could feel right now, right? It can feel like life or death, but what if we had the courage and the compassion for ourselves to allow that to surface in a time where we are being forced to stop in our tracks and start to question why we do what we do, and actually allow this to be a really healing, clarifying, and empowering place to be, because of what we choose as individuals to do with it. And that is a great strategy for bringing back the certainty that so many of us have been missing in our lives, that's created the perpetual cycle of these mental health issues when we feel so uncertain and unstable and not in control of our lives. But with this perspective, my hope is that you take back the reins on your own life. And you have the courage to allow anything that's been hanging out under the surface to purge up to the surface. It will feel dark. It will feel scary. It will be a dark night of the soul. But there is light at the end of the tunnel that you wouldn't otherwise access and see and experience if you didn't have the courage to allow what's underneath to come to the surface for that necessary and required healing and clarification. All right, so that is my message for you. Now I want to definitely jump into the comments, so please do make sure that you are dropping me a comment. I would love to hear from you. I'd love to hear your perspective. I would love to hear any questions that you might have, any words of wisdom that you feel called to share, or any experience that you're going through in your life right now. I would absolutely love to connect with you guys. So let me check in. I have got Clint in the house. Good to see you. And Edgar. Hi, Vanessa. Sending you love from Chihuahua, Mexico. So glad to catch up live today because I've been watching the replays on YouTube. Oh, awesome. Well, I'm grateful that you've been still watching these messages and getting access to them on YouTube, Edgar. Always great to have you, and always love sending you love right back from Australia, and hope that you've been finding these messages valuable, and thanks so much for showing up live today. I'll probably be doing a few more of these lives. I'm aiming to do them like probably every second day. I really just want to get back into the swing of this. You know, part of my purging has been realizing that I'm at my absolute best and most fulfilled and most inspired when I stop worrying about what other people tell me to do strategically for my own authentic inspirations. And basically I had allowed that same old pattern to come back into play again. And again, God, next layer of this pattern unraveling. I know that I'm at my best when I just show up and just genuinely just want to contribute to you guys without any strategy or any thinking about how things need to be repurposed or any of that stuff. Like, I just love connecting with you guys. So I'm very grateful for those of you who can join me live and you get value from these messages. That's such a gift to know. All right. Love it. And Jeremy's in the house. Yes, finally on live. It's good to see you back again. And Bethany's here and Arlen and Jeremy. Yay. I created a little wrap around this topic today. Does the task require a mask? Are illusions nothing but illusions? Great topic. I love it. Okay, awesome. Well, maybe you'll have to share that wrap with myself and with all of us. Love having you here as usual. And Daryl's here. And Daryl, you're in a 3-week streak with your sending of your stars. So I just want to have a massive shout out to you. Thank you so much for being such a consistent supporter to these messages. It's such a gift that you can give to me, and also allowing me to kind of expand my own reach with other exceptional souls just like you. So I so appreciate that. Thank you so much, Daryl. Always tuning in from the Rockies of Canada. How beautiful. Oh my gosh, I miss Canada. I really want to live there. I love it. Awesome. And Sars here as well. And Jeremy, I've noticed more and more are experiencing burnout. I believe burnout is nature's way to align with our truth. Abso-freaking-lutely. I completely agree. I know from my own personal experience of those moments in time where I have gotten into my own burnout, it's always been like, I really do believe that when you're on the right path and you're fully aligned, you're empowered forward. And whenever you find yourself experiencing burnout or things just you're sabotaging your success, oftentimes it's here to alert us, stop trying to do the same old thing and go in the same direction that you keep trying to go in. We keep telling you, stop it. It's not working for you. Reassess. Remember, today's message is about allowing all of that stuff under the surface to come up, right? Your truth, your real experience. Allow it all to come up and surface so that you can heal and get a deeper alignment and connection within yourself, and let your internal compass project you in the right direction. So I love that, Jeremy. So true. And Daryl, working in an alpha mind and body state always is best. I love it. Awesome. Love that you found what works for you, my friend. And Jose, yay. Good to see you back. Hello, Vanessa. It's very interesting that you talk about meditation regarding about lockdown. My thought is this. if you can't go out, you go inside yourself. Yes, absolutely. Great opportunity to enjoy your inner natural freedom. When we had that experience here in the US, I didn't have the opportunity to be home all the time since I'm an essential worker, but I think even if not lockdown, meditation is the opportunity to reinvent ourselves. Thank you for all your good advice. Some of the mums of the students at my work told me that they are following your nice work after I shared your video on my page. Oh, thank you so much, Jose. I love having you here. Always a joy to have you join live and contribute your experiences and your questions and everything that you share. And thank you so much for sharing my content with other exceptional souls so that we can expand this beautiful community. So I so appreciate that. And I really, really resonate also with what you said in terms of when we can't go out, it's time to go within, right? And so I've actually noticed over the last couple of days a pattern of mine that resurfaced that I hadn't had since I was back at uni, right? And for those of you who've been following my journey, you know that all my time spent at uni doing my business degree and partway through my law degree, like it was all just a push. It was so disconnected from self. I had no idea who I was. I had no idea about personal development. And what I did at that time was I was ritualistic in watching live programs, right? And particularly, anything that was live, right? I had to have it. And I noticed that this pattern has come back into play massively for me right now. And I was thinking how many years it's been since that pattern has been at play. Why is it that I need to be watching this stuff live and having it run in the background or whatever, right? And I've realized just in some self-contemplation today that basically when I am not present and connected with myself in the moment, I seek live connection with external souls, right? Even if it's not really like it's just a one-way street basically, but it was really interesting for me to see that pattern reemerge and question like what drives that and what does it reflect. And what it reflected to me was like I said, that lack of presence with myself right now, because I asked myself, well, when I wasn't doing that, what was I doing? And I was doing a lot of growth work. I was doing a lot of journaling. I think it helped for me personally to have a partner that I lived with, so that we could journal and share and pitch and catch with one another. And when it's just yourself, like it is for me in lockdown, sometimes it's, like you want some external connection as well, right? But it's the challenge to go, well, what needs to come to the surface? What is being avoided? What if I didn't have any of this technology, any of this connection at all? And what if I was just with myself? And I'm actually going to be doing that this week for myself. Outside of sessions and calls that I've got going on this week, I will be doing some of that. So I will report back, and I'd love to hear from you guys if you want to take on that challenge of disconnecting from all external connection, technology, and all the rest of it, if you have the opportunity to, and see what actually comes to the surface for you. All right, I guarantee even if you did it for an hour, like you would probably have a breakthrough, right? I know I do. Every time I take that time for myself, I have a realization, I have a breakthrough, something new comes to the surface to heal. I become healthier, I become more aligned and connected. And so hope you take that challenge on, and I'd love to hear from you if you do. And thank you again, Jose, for being here. You are such a superstar. And I have got Aisha here as well, and Data's in the house, good to see you, and Gary's here as well, and Jeremy. What would be your recommendation for people who are more in their head and need to align with the heart? Oh yeah, okay. Well, this is kind of me, right? So I can talk to myself in my own experience. And what I would say is the realization that your real inner truth actually resides in your heart, right? It resides inside your body. And your mind is basically, for me, it's like a tool for expansion of what's already true. So if we only operate in the head, we're trying to expand something we're not connected to, right? We're trying to do, or think and analyze and whatever, but wouldn't you want that to be in full alignment with the truth of who you are? So that's why I look at the heart being the center of it all, that we need to expand upon through our ability to analyze and transcend and all the rest of it. That is like the jet fuel, right? To propel our authentic inspirations forward. That I would say just having a perspective like that to begin with is hugely valuable. And then a lot of people are afraid to relax into the heart, right? Because in our bodies is where our emotions are stored. And what do emotions do? They feel uncertain. We feel oftentimes out of control of them. We don't have the emotional intelligence. So we rely very heavily on our intellectual intelligence. And basically, because we're not really taught emotional intelligence, we're taught the muscle of intellectual intelligence. And so we have to be kind and compassionate with ourselves and to build that muscle and test it out, right? Be a scientist of your own authentic self. See how much better your mind's capacity is when it's fully in alignment and in connection and as an extension, an expansion of what's really true for you. And don't be afraid of those emotions, right? Those emotions are feedback mechanisms to what's true for you and what's really going on. And if you want to be a really informed truth seeker in this world, you can't leave behind the heart, all right? And so, I don't know, that's where my flow went today. I hope it served you. I hope it answered the question, Jezzy. And you're saying also vulnerability is humanity's greatest strength. You got it, my friend. Abso-frickin-lutely. And I know you know, I think the most attractive quality in any human being is our courageous vulnerability. The ability to truly align our internal world outside into the external world, right? To share the truth of what's going on, but you can't share genuinely when you're disconnected from that, all right? And to have the courage to do that, right? It takes no courage to stay behind a wall of analytics, right? And just use the head to do everything with. But there's a deep emptiness in that journey, right? And so we want to be all things. We want to express all of who we are, be all of who we are, and align with all of who we are. So we need a meeting of the head and the heart, all right? So that's beautifully put. Thank you so much, Jezzy. And Don's here as well. Good to see you, my friend. And Jose, yay. Vanessa, sorry, one more thing. Never be sorry. I love it when you guys connect here and we co-create this space. So I'd be here all day if you guys want me to be. One more thing. I had to try out to be with no technology for 1 week. It was a mess because even in my job, have to communicate with email. Yeah, I get it. In our everyday lives, it's pretty difficult to disconnect from any technology because we rely so heavily on it, right? A lot of people are in jobs like yourself, Jose, who can't step away from it. I know for me personally, right? Like most of what I love to do is using technology, right? And so maybe a stepping stone for this might be that for you, if I was in your case there, Jose, I would just dedicate a particular hour or whatever it is that you need for your job, that you engage in for that only that period of time. You engage in what you have to do in terms of emails or whatever, and the rest of the day you take off. Or even better still, you really utilize, even if it's just one day, and ideally a day where you have no obligations, right? A day on the weekend or whenever you have a day off, to just completely tell everybody in your life you're not contactable that day, right? Unless it's an absolute emergency, and switch everything off. I used to do this when I lived in Thailand. Every Sunday, I'd have a day where I actually put all technology in the cupboard, right? No laptop, no phone, nothing. And it was just a day of presence with self, right? And yep, you're allowed to journal. You're allowed to write down things for yourself. You're allowed to dialogue with yourself. That's basically the idea, is to be in connection with yourself and see what comes up to the surface. Don't distract yourself with people, with places, with things, right? Or anything other than. It's about, instead of taking all this stuff in, it's about allowing all that internal stuff to come out. All right. So love that share, Jose. And I love that you've given that a go before, and loving that you're finding this a great idea. Thank you. I'll try that. Awesome. I can't wait to hear from you, my friend. So that is my message for you guys today. I hope that it has served you and really just got you thinking about how unhealed trauma gets unmasked when we have our so-called freedoms taken away from us. And those freedoms that I refer to as being our coping strategies, our habits and our routines that we have unconsciously been engaging in to mask the real reality and the pain and the emotions and all that dark stuff that we want to run away from and avoid for far too long. All right. And to utilize this as an opportunity to purge, to heal, to clarify, and become the healthiest version of yourself you can be. All right. So if you'd ever like any deeper personal support on that, that is the work that I do. So you can always reach out to me personally. I love jumping on calls with you guys and seeing if I can support you at a much higher level that's tailored to you as an individual. So yeah, you can reach out. All right, that is my message for you guys. Thank you so much to all of you who could join me live today. You are so appreciated. I so am grateful for your comments, for your questions, for your words of wisdom, for your experience shared. All of it, it so contributes to these conversations. And thanks again for star senders who show your support in that way as well. Thank you, Daryl, for your 3-week streak. That's awesome. And Jeremy, thank you, Nezzy. Proud of you. Right back at you. Love it, love it, love it. And my message and my reminder, as usual, is to go out there and honor your authenticity, to deepen your intimate connections, and definitely contribute your unique gifts meaningfully and purposefully. And you can't know what they are when you're out of connection with yourself. So take this time to really allow what's internal to come to the surface for the necessary and required healing, and give yourself that gift with love and compassion, and know that you're on the journey and it's all on your way. It's never in your way. All right, that's my message for each and every one of you guys. And please do share this if it has been of value. And I can't wait to see you guys very soon. Much love.